Full volume. Big show note. I am going away on Thursday to Canada, and then I go to Saskatoon to visit the parents on Saturday. So sporadic shows for the next week and a half, if any. So maybe a nice welcome break to everyone. Maybe you can catch up, or maybe you can just chill and make some art. Welcome back, everyone. Artist Journal, November 28th, 2023. As we wave to our neuroscientist friends on shore and embark on our journey across the high seas of inner space, my name is Adrian Pocobelli, and welcome back. So here we go. There will be a Twitter space tomorrow, however. And again, thank you for the just the overall general support on this show. It is a ton of fun, and it's great. I mean, Twitter, it is just great. I mean, YouTube, there's no retweet, really. There's the like, but that's it. So it's really fun to watch these videos, just get all sorts of kind of reach. And yeah, so let's get into it here. Time is of the essence as usual. As we continue our journey here, PP Universal put this work out, I think yesterday, an edition of 5. And I found it to be quite powerful. It almost reminded me of being in a museum. Like, what kind of museum would it be? It wouldn't be a natural history museum. It would be, well, I guess it could be, if you were looking like kind of recent. But natural history museums, I mean, I went to it 3 times in London. I should know what a natural history, in a sense, it's the history of nature, right? Natural history. But that does sometimes go into anthropology, right, where we see the first humans. I went there 3 times. They have Lucy in the British Museum there, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure I saw Lucy a few times there. And I guess maybe it's not, you know, you see tools, early tools, but it reminds me of a museum of sorts. Actually, there is. Actually, I'm thinking of the Victoria and Albert, the V&A Museum. You know, that kind of museum where you see 18th century objects, also in London, famous museum just across the street practically, just down the road, I guess you would say, in London's West End. And this is the kind of thing, you know, it's almost kind of anthropological, and it brings up all sorts of emotions as there is the, you know, the pathos, so to speak, of this object. And I think there's almost a lot of fear, perhaps, you know, wrapped up in this object, and, you know, and the sympathy, of course, for those people that use, you know, a wheelchair. So it's a really, you know, it's an unusual subject matter. I'd argue it's kind of a difficult subject matter. I think it hits on certain, you know, deep-seated fears, perhaps, in our psyche, perhaps. Just speculating out loud, like, I found it, again, it kind of hit me, this work, and I thought it was just a brilliant work of art, a brilliant choice of subject matter, a powerful choice of subject matter. And I think you know, I'm almost curious to hear what other people have to say about it. And so, yeah, and not only is it a brilliant choice of subject matter, in a sense, this is what the arts, they do. Again, as we voyage across inner space, you know, science can tell us all sorts of stuff about this object here. But really, what is the, you know, the human response? What does it mean, you know, in other ways? And so I just think it's a brilliant choice of object. And again, it brings up, you know, kind of mixed emotions to a certain degree. And so there it is. And of course, not to forget, it's brilliantly executed here. I mean, again, it's easy to see, say, this gradient, this kind of textured gradient, whatever. It looks like some kind of gradient tool, radial gradient. I don't know what kind of gradient this is on the chair, on the seat, and also used here, almost to evoke, you know, perhaps a kind of leather or synthetic leather or plastic, you know, durable plastic sort of seat. Quite well done, and it kind of makes it look easy. These are bold decisions that are being made here, as well as in, say, the side here. Bold subject matter, I'd argue. Like, for me, I find it difficult to even discuss to a certain degree. And the wheels. I mean, again, so just beautifully executed, a powerful work. I mean, I guess that's what I have to say about it. If I had to sum up, it's just a powerful work, and maybe I'm not even sure why. I don't necessarily have the answers here every day. Again, I'd be curious to hear what others have to say. Again, I'll tell you what I do know. From over here, it's kind of a powerful work of art, is what I would call this. And again, the kind of work of art I would expect to see in a major museum, right? And go, oh, that's, it's powerful. So very cool, interesting work from PP Universal. This went for 8 Tezos each, very low edition of 5. There were offers that came in, 14 Tezos from Artie Hands, and Illusion for 20 Tezos. So really interesting, powerful work from PP Universal. And here, and I follow all these people again on X. Actually, maybe I didn't follow Infinite Canvas. I just followed them a few minutes ago. So I'm really excited for One of One. Of course, they did interviews with Martin Brook. I think Martin Bruce is how it's said. We'll see the website in a second here. I'm really excited to have these guys on Infinite Canvas 2, as well as Guava Lemon 3 from One of One on this week's Spaces. They have this website here. Actually, here is their Twitter. And they have a Stip and Pixel interview that they just did. Of course, that's Stip and Pixel there. And here it is. Just a cool Substack. A humble Substack here, pixelating out the excess. You can see clearly done out of love. An interview with Stip and Pixel, an interview with Somfay, Martin Bruce here, Martine Bruce maybe, and Mariana J.U., of course, using KidPix here. I think we've seen that work, Nuv 1914. And so Element Lee. So just really cool. I'm thrilled to just kind of, make links here with these guys and really just hear what they have to say. I'm excited. So that is coming up on tomorrow's Spaces here as I figure out my tabs here. So I've just tweeted this out. I will pin it to my profile so you can find it easily. And yeah, come join us. It should be super interesting, just really curious to hear and excited. So One of One on Twitter, One of One of One. On Twitter, and here, oneofoneart.substack.com. Just a big shout out and thank you to Zora, Zach at Zora. There I am at the top. Undeniable is undenied, quoting David Hickey, the great critic there out of Texas. And there is mech.txt's genial work that we've been looking at here. And look at this, while we're on Zora. See that? Notification. So, of course, people picking up some of these. So how cool is that? So Zora, I mean, what's dangerous about Zora, in my opinion, is their persistent iteration and their persistent desire to improve. And that is a dangerous combination. They are very flexible. To me, they're very interesting, and we're going to have Zach back on. I haven't mentioned that to Zach, as long as Zach wants to come on, maybe in February. Our last Spaces was a little botched by my flight being late out of London, so I want to do that again when Zach has some time. Maybe in February would be a good time to do it, and just hear what the latest is from Zora and everything they're doing there. Comments on last show. What do we have? Scamra. I'm still thinking of Hen Collectors. I'm still thinking about Hen Collector's comment. Wonderful comment by Hen Collector. I totally agree. It got me thinking. I woke up probably in the middle of the night, and I'm still kind of ruminating on what Hen Collector said there. Wonderful comment by Hen Collector. I'm here for the world implicitly promised by the work that we haven't found yet as we continue our journey into unknown lands, on the high seas of inner space here. Great show, and thanks again for showing my work. An absolute pleasure, Scamra. It's, I knew Scamra, just as far as object. I don't know Scamra other than on Twitter. but I knew him as a collector. And it's so awesome, kind of like Mikey Wilson, and it's just delightful to see people making the leap, you know, and AI, I think pixel art too, it's possible, but AI is another way that people can just, you know, become really interesting artists who maybe had that innate talent, but never, like, I don't know, maybe Scomber did go to art school, I don't know, but I just think it's a great thing when that happens, when, I just think it's wonderful. That people can basically, you know, get started pretty quickly and making nice original work pretty quickly with by adopting these tools, you know, these new tools and being quick to adapt, being quick to adopt and adapt. DJ Kuro, thanks Poco for showing my stuff again. I think we have another Kuro here, sitting here, putting your show on pause and buying artwork. Kuro's a big buyer of artwork. It's awesome. Thanks, like on ETH, you know, so not small amounts of money. Thanks for your curation. Makes things easy. Also, Holomod is the name of my collection of modern art with the analog glitch aesthetic. Okay, because I think I have another one with Holomod. So that is the name of Kuro's collection. So maybe it's not a collaboration. Maybe it's just Kuro on his own. So thank you for clearing that up, Kuro. And also a comment from Little Cakes and Stip and Pixel I wanted to highlight, as well as Nicholas Dietrich. Great to hear from you. Really great to just, again, hear from the artists is awesome. And since, we'll come back to those top comments in a second, since only the state of a critic can be mediocre, which I thought was funny. Chrome Void, great show as always. The ultradatagen.exe pieces by LXTXCX, whose work we've seen before, who has a lot of work on Tezos you might be familiar with. I'm pretty sure I've shown their work a few times, at least, on this show. Luciana Guerra, great to hear from you. And Bots of Cog as well. So Little Cakes, I thought had I was really glad to hear this great to hear from Little Cakes, as always. I, too, really liked the purple lighting around Kareem's piece in the window. It was very interesting, wasn't it? I thought just an interesting little creative iteration there. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. I mean, weirdly enough, but once you do see it, you go, oh, that makes sense. You can imagine that almost becoming a norm of sorts, perhaps. And the no extra gallery lighting in the Spiegel show created nice moods. Yeah, like I think it's really easy to gloss over what we saw there, but those were two little kind of, again, it's kind of obvious in hindsight once you turn out the lights of Spiegel's gallery and then you let the works light it up. But I'd say that's not the default. The default is it's going to be on some 16:9 screen, and then you're going to have your square image with under neon lights, right? So there's something to be said for these little iterations, and I'm sure it's not the first time, but maybe it's worth noting as we try and, you know, figure this out. You know, we're always interested in how this work is displayed over here. Stipin Pixel also left a comment, and here they all are. And thank you for doing this, Stipin, because I miss a ton of stuff. And here is the halftone show. So we've seen some of these. They've been kind of dripping out. And of course, Cancino, Augustin Cancino, with these really just delightful soccer works. I am just a huge fan of these. I need to mint these, actually. So here's the rest. Luca, and these are all on Zora. As part of this show. What is the show called? Halftones. So here's Luca, a last universal common ancestor, almost a biological We're almost back to the Natural History Museum here, bite by bit. So this was part of the show. And again, thank you, Stipin, for doing this, because yeah, you don't want to leave out everybody. I was just sort of seeing them randomly on Twitter, so it's nice to see the whole show here. The Guardians by Ale Gonzalez. 94L1 Castle, artist I haven't seen before. Cool work here. And here is by Padu, Dark Side. So just a nice, simple dithering of what looks like a moon. Artist Bleu 281, of course, who we're familiar with and has made work on Tezos. Visceral Ache, cool title. And here's Sebolander. You see, it's a pretty extensive show, Ditherscape, with some animated abstract, perhaps slightly generative. And here is China Dessin, Sovereignty Must Be Recovered. So interesting piece here. I guess you can start to see the halftones here in this export. And of course, we saw the Dan control here, the dithered landscape, the element Lee we saw. And Gravitopia is the artist here, and this is called Thirst, so interesting pixel artwork here. And also Martin Geek, of course, who I haven't seen for a while, also familiar with from Zora Ducks. So really cool show here. Jay Femiki with an interesting piece, Fushigina Funiki, and interesting lighting there of this interior. And finally, Mick Renders, Tubular View. So this is great. Thank you for the help in finding all these. Mr. Foxy Pixel, Dryer, and Nuv 1914, Caballito, I think is how you'd pronounce that. Caballito, and Roman Medrano. So a huge show here. The Home 113, this is pretty cool. Love this one. That's us on our skiff on the sea here. And here's Tegenhoff, White Friday. So there is another one and more. I mean, look at how big this is. Igora Vessel, Skull. I'm trying to keep these shows shorter, Stippen. Yuji, we've seen this one, Corrupted Satellite. And, I mean, it's a huge show. Nigun Artista, Lead the Way. And Non, and Cloud Watching. And finally, Notan Mariana, who we've seen before, a cool kind of flower work, and of course Sabato we've seen yesterday, and the Denairas Muerte with a skull eating the world here. And finally, we've seen this one by Capin or Zico Jam and Pinky Blue also. I mean, look at this huge show. Fabric 2K, another one, internet user. And that finally is our show. So thank you, and what a wonderful show there from Stippen Pixel. Nice curation. Rip Cash. So Pastel, the Pastel's account tweeted this. So look at this. So it's a party, and it's kind of like a rave or some sort of club night. And Rip Cash shows up on the screen here, as you can see. You can kind of hear all the club music and everything. The big build. I've been hearing this on Instagram, this tune, so I'm gonna quiet it down. It's the Pink Floyd, We Don't Need No Education. I kind of think people need more education out there. I don't know. I think we do need, but I take the point of the song. I think the point of the song is we don't need no thought control. So anyways, look at that. The point being is, look at Rip Cash out in the world here. Nice kind of setup, isn't it? Nice for a party, and it kind of really works with the tune, of course, with all the surveillance cameras. Very interesting. Very, very interesting in Brooklyn. So the work continues to be out there in the larger world, and here is Verse. Again, and Verse, I think, did the work with Lorna Mills. And here is A.A. Murakami, Between Two Worlds. And here is this nice tiny little screen here. And you can see, so, you know, we saw it with Spiegels, kind of playing with what I'm tempted to call, you know, customized screens. I mean, maybe you can buy them on, you know, Amazon or eBay, for all I know. But here is another one. Kind of reminds you of a Raspberry Pi. So interesting piece and interesting work, and you see the cord going over there. Maybe you just plug in a little, you know, USB or something. So 8th of December, A.A. Murakami. Now, I thought Murakami, I guess, I thought that was like that famous Japanese artist who's been around. Maybe that's a different Murakami. So here it is on Verse, just interesting display. And here is more renditions of digital art. This is a G-Clay print on Hanamula paper. This is Rosatio. It's supposed to be for the collector of my super rare piece, but the collector did not claim it. I guess I'll frame it for myself. So as you can see here, a really high quality print from Rosatio. So also looking good there. This is interesting. So we've been following the Ordinals narrative. And of course, I've been minting on Ordinals. RJ minted a couple of works on Ordinals. It's very interesting. And again, it's easy to kind of forget about because it's kind of expensive. Again, about $10 per kilobyte is what I was noticing. So check this out. The Ordinals account, someone just paid $5,538 to inscribe this 5-second 1080p resolution video into Bitcoin. And here is the video. And you know what's kind of interesting about that? From a purely market viewpoint, maybe $5,000, weirdly, if you can risk it, maybe that's not terrible if all of a sudden, if the Ordinals account is tweeting you out, like, I'm betting they'll sell this for more than $5,000 is basically my point, which is kind of interesting. And, you know, a lot of these collectors on the blockchain, I think innovation kind of, it's sort of, you know, it kind of plays, if you're really using the blockchain or you're trying out new things, it can really add value and are willing to pay for it and get excited. So 5 seconds, high def, 1080p resolution video into Bitcoin. So very interesting. And here's the account, a time perception by Elock, and the first high quality, large video inscribed on Bitcoin, on Bitcoin ordinals without colluding with a miner. And I suppose that means that you could partner up with a miner who will say, don't worry about the $5,000 fee. I'll take care of it. I'll do it for free, basically. And then we, you know, maybe split the winnings or who knows what. Time-lapse is my medium as an artist because you can have time perception outside of human consciousness. A debatable point, I think. Let's continue. I never thought I would be able to inscribe my art onto Bitcoin because I was not willing to compromise the quality of my work by reducing file size. I mean, this is the big challenge, isn't it, with minting on Bitcoin? It's because it, you know, and some people say, I thought 4 megabytes is the size of a block. So how do you, and I think they call it recursion, where maybe you can connect to other blocks and then put it all together. With the support of Neuropunk, Cyberpunk's write code challenging me to find a way, I invented a new method of creating inscriptions that are unbound by the file size. All 1.1 megabytes are inscribed onto one sat. Cyberpunks write the code. So I think what's going on here is, because it was kind of explained to me in the summer a little bit when I was thinking about putting the Peloponnesian War on, but we, you know, there's kind of a universal thought that unless I can get these down to like 40 or 50 kilobytes, it's not worth it, or it's, you know, too high risk. Let's put it that way. My impression with recursions, I don't know, but I think what's going on, because a block, as far as I understand, is 4 megabytes. Again, I'm not an expert. So this thing's 5.5. So how would that work? Is I think this recursion thing, I think it connects to different blocks and then basically puts it all together. I think that's what's going on here, but I'm not positive, but I'm sharing this because it's pretty interesting and it may affect us, especially if there's cheaper ways to mint on Bitcoin, although that didn't look very cheap, did it? So just, it's a watch this space sort of thing. And weirdly, it's still early, even though this has been going on for, you know, 3/4 of the year. You know, at least from an art perspective, I don't know a ton of artists. I think Ripcash maybe is minted, but there's not a ton of minting that has happened on Bitcoin as far as, you know, art that we look at. Let's put it that way. So at least as far as I know. But I know there's a lot of interest. Okay, continuing on. So this is interesting. This is for me, I don't know if I'd call it high drama, but it's a fascinating story here. So we have a development just since yesterday, because Rishi Sunak, if I'm pronouncing Rishi Sunak, was supposed to meet the Greek Prime Minister about the Parthenon marbles. Is that what they're calling them? What used to be known as the Elgin marbles? What do they call them? The Parthenon sculptures with a capital P and a capital S. Let me just turn off the ringer here. So let's just take a quick look at this and let me make it bigger. Greece has long maintained that the 2,500-year-old sculptures, and I mean, this is at the heart of probably the most renowned monument in Greece, the Parthenon, and it's basically, I always forget what this is called, the triangular area. It's not the apse, it's not the pediment, it's not, I'll look that up whenever I do the next show. But I mean, they took like the heart of the Parthenon, and now they don't want to give it back, you know, 200 years later. So let's just take a very quick look so we know what's going on in this, again, very dramatic, interesting story. And again, there they are. This is the British Museum, and I'll tell you my experience. I didn't think it was that big a deal. Like, I was like, when I first went to the British Museum, I don't know, 10 years ago, I sort of had this mindset of, well, you know, maybe they preserved it, and there's a certain degree of truth to that argument. But then when I walked in and you just see how much is there, you just go, this is outrageous. You know, so, you know, I almost would argue, in order to understand the story, it's actually worth going to the British Museum, go to the Parthenon, and then maybe go to the Parthenon Museum, and then it's like, then I think you can start to have an opinion in a sense. But until then, it's kind of all abstract, and it's hard to have you can have an opinion, but it helps, is what I would say, because there's something like, I found it kind of outrageous, and I didn't expect to have that. That's why I tell this story. Let's just really quickly look at what's going on here. London, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak cancelled a scheduled meeting. So the meeting was cancelled with Greek counterpart Kyriakos Mitsotakis on Tuesday amid a diplomatic dispute about the Parthenon sculptures. So Greece is getting impatient, okay? They're getting impatient because this has been an issue of contention for decades. Greece has long maintained that the 2,500-year-old sculptures removed by British diplomat Lord Elgin in the early 19th century, so again, the early 1800s, so this is going on 200 years, and currently held in the British Museum, should be returned. The statues, also known as the Elgin marbles, have been a source of disagreement between the two nations, not just for decades, for centuries. So, I mean, and really probably just shipped right out, okay? Mitsotakis told the BBC on Sunday that renewed talks over a possible loan deal for the sculptures were not progressing quickly enough. So, and that the British Museum continuing to hold some of the artifacts while the rest remain in Athens is like cutting the Mona Lisa in half. Sunak snubbed the Greek leader on the eve of their planned diplomatic meeting. No reason for the cancellation was publicly communicated. After the intended meeting, Sunak's office said that the two countries needed to work together to tackle global challenges such as illegal migration, and that there were no plans to return the statues, according to multiple media outlets. The Prime Minister's spokesman also reportedly said that the Deputy Prime Minister, Oliver Dowden, had been offered up to meet Mitsotakis, which is, you know, a diplomatic insult, okay? And finally, we have a quote from Mitsotakis. I quote, "I express my dismay that the British Prime Minister cancelled our scheduled meeting just hours before it was due to take place. Anyone who believes in the correctness and justice of their positions is never afraid of opposing arguments." Powerful argument. So the British government has always maintained the marbles were legally acquired. A domestic law blocks the British Museum from permanently removing objects from its collection outside of particular circumstances, but does not prohibit a possible loan agreement. So they've created a law in the UK saying it's not legal to remove the objects from their collection very conveniently. You know, it's not the 19th century anymore, is what I would say, and I know it'll create a massive hole. It is the crown jewel, I would argue, of the British Museum. Like, there's the Assyrian reliefs, there's some brilliant ancient Egyptian stuff, just from my recollection. It is the crown jewel, so you understand why they don't want to get rid of it, but at the end of the day, you know, I think I know how this is going to go, and it's just becoming a harder and harder argument for the British government, I think, to defend. And here they can't even, they're canceling the meetings at the last minute, exactly as the Greek Prime Minister, I think it's Prime Minister, said here, anyone who believes in the correctness and justice of their positions is never afraid of opposing arguments. So, it's hard to disagree. Let's continue here. Ramen Club. So, we looked at the spicy ramen yesterday, and I find this kind of illustrative and educational, and frankly, just kind of funny. And we see ChatGPT. I've never actually tried the image function in ChatGPT, which apparently uses a DALL-E. For every 5 likes this gets, I will ask ChatGPT to make this ramen look more profitable. So here's the original, and here it's going to look more profitable. So it's getting basically more and more fancy. Make it even more profitable. And then, interestingly, the further you go, with the making it look more and more profitable. There's a diamond on top here. It always, like, when you go more and more, it always turns into this universe sort of setting here. So I just think it's kind of interesting and funny. You know, maybe not even that different from the sun attacking the ramen in that final spicy ramen. So just kind of interesting here and pretty funny, actually. It gets cosmic and universal. There's the Milky Way. And here it just continues. So just kind of hilarious over here. So just kind of funny. Into the works we go. So I decided to risk. So this is Julian Sileko. I have a theory, and I'm going to test it today, which is if Twitter is going to allow the video to be uploaded. Because I kind of have a theory that when you show a little bit of nudity, like here, that it creates an error. Hopefully not. I hope it works, and then I can be wrong, at least probably wrong. So here, Julian Sileko, who actually made some brilliant art on Tezos, the synths, and like the palm trees and the outer space. I showed them in earlier episodes. So these are minted on Zora, and a pretty cool work here. And actually, let me make it big. So just an interesting artwork. We'll look at the details in a second. But I think Julian's been working on this for quite a while. Interesting composition, kind of wild kind of subject matter here, and just kind of interesting. So this is Europa Abduction. Interesting. So this is a play on, I think if we bring up Titian, for example, it's a classic subject matter, Titian Europa painting. Yeah, here we go. I know this one quite well because I actually did a screen memory of this one. And so here is the abduction of Europa. So here is like a classic version, Europa, by Titian. And here, so you're seeing a variation on it here with the bull. Is that a bull? In the original, it is a bull. And Zeus as the bull, interestingly. And so here is Zeus. Now, who is this? Interestingly, and maybe first it's Zeus is here and then Zeus is there. Not sure. Pretty cool work, though. And here's some of Sulkian's other work, actually, on Zora. So Sulkian is back with some pretty interesting kind of 3D animations, for lack of better words, or renderings. Just interesting work here on Zora, and did quite well, I might add. 415 and 337 on those first works. So nice results there for Sulkian on the first two works. So just cool work from Sulkian there. I'm sure you know the artist here, Lorna Mills, with another edgy work that we'll we'll check the Twitter censors on this one too. So an interesting mask here. I mean, this is different for Lorna Mills. As far as I'm not an expert on Lorna Mills' work, but this mask here feels different, doesn't it? And it's almost like this circular mask, the circular shape that reveals, the balloons. It's almost like echoing the subject matter of this balloon shape, interestingly. Now, we do see the jagged edges here, so interesting, right? And on all the other works here, the apple, the chaos, the person, the girl on the swing, interesting work. Let's just see what the title is. Now, of course, Chief Singers. Now, as we learned at Lorna Mills Space that we did, which I highly recommend, actually I'm going to post it right away. I'm going to have more time because I'm not doing the show because I'm visiting family. It'll be sporadic, if at all, in the next week and a half, next 10 days or so, just FYI. And what we learned from Lorna Mills at the Space about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, is that she takes the name of her works. They're all from racehorses, because they always have these kind of odd names. They're all from racehorses. So this is probably another one, which I think is quite brilliant and interesting, and kind of back to the appropriation, mixing culture together, and then remixing it, and then creating a new work to comment on it. Very cool. Hasdrubal Waffle, another super interesting artist here with tons of pop references. I can't read the text on this one, but there's almost like a little Terminator guy this time, and more Muppets of a certain kind. I don't know if they're the that looks kind of like Kermit the Frog there, but they look like Jim Henson puppets, kind of, just pasted right in the middle of this thing, of this work. And here is more, and a cool, another clown, couple of bunny figures, and just more chaos, more beautiful chaos from Hasdrubal Waffle, edition of 5. Let's see if our internet is working. It is, and 3 cent to Little Cakes, and the rest to iLay, a couple of anonymous accounts, and the George Costanza of NFTs. We'll have to, shall we look at the George Costanzas of NFTs and see what is going on here? Interesting. And there's a Gucho store. Great title. And look at this. Listen up. There's this artist goes by Hasdrubal or Waffles or Kebab. Who knows? But the art, it's mind-blowing. Every name's a new style, like there are a dozen artists in one. It's baffling yet brilliant. From another dimension, I'm telling you. I'm starting to wonder. There's, oh, yeah, and edgy Tez name there. Santiago Kubo. So I never understood the Koei-Con thing, but I always thought it was kind of interesting and fun. It happened about a year ago, and I think it's the 1-year anniversary. Tribute to Authentic Waffles and to Koei-Con. And so this is by Santiago, looking like a AI artwork. So just kind of interesting. There's always this guy with the top hat who kind of associate with Hasdrubal Waffle a little bit. And this was sent out to probably waffle holders, perhaps, or who knows, maybe previous buyers of Koei-Con. And here, iLay, actually, Pixel Koei-Con times iLay, a celebration in freehand pixel painting with sample colors from the original Santiago. So I'm not sure if this is new or a year later. I actually quite love, I wonder if this is, what is that program called that we were discussing? It is an iPhone program, but they also, it's like, I have it on my phone. It is called I want to call it it's not Pixaki. Let me just put Pixelmator. I wonder if it's Pixelmator, because I know iLay was using Pixelmator, and these kind of brush strokes here kind of look like Pixelmator a little bit. I quite like this. You know, this is actually pretty original, iLay, this painting, and you see painting with the, you know, just the freedom in this work, and here it's just kind of writ, kind of casually. Nice piece. I'm not sure if it's a year old or not. And here's another one. Chili Koei-Kani. Dig into the caliente morsels of mirth and tasty bites of juvenile artistic anarchy for the Koei-Con anniversary celebration. So this is what kind of tipped me off that there is a... So I don't know what it means. I don't know what it is, but it's kind of fun. So Louis taking part in the fun. And here, Temple Mizmiz, it's tempting to see this as perhaps a celebration of sorts, related, almost has that Hasdrubal Waffle feel to it. So interesting work, a 1 of 1. Let's just see what happened. Sent to 1 of 1. So it's a small world after all, as they say. Martin Brooke minted this piece, so cool. Edgy, bold, just, you know, edgy and bold. So it is back. Giraffe, and thank you for the tweet yesterday about being on the show, Martin Brooke. So here it is again, or Martin Bruce, as we see on the 1 of 1 website. So just interesting. 12 Tezos edition of 11, 7 left. RJ with a new one here. Interesting piece, Alone Together, minted on hand. Maybe I can make this bigger, but this might be full size. It is maybe full size. Let's just take a quick look closer here. So interesting piece on the laptop, kind of a different feeling, isn't it? And kind of familiar but different. It makes you wonder, again, is this AI, what I call spectral pastiche or AI pastiche, Alone Together, 18 Tezos, there are 10 left and 10, this was just minted as I loaded up the show here. So interesting piece, nice pixel art from RJ as per usual. Board Me Social Club, now BMSC, Loose Associations of Disorder, really interesting kind of surreal painting here as the figure gets stretched out but kind of linked together through the jacket, the Adidas jacket or the 2-line Adidas jacket. And here kind of a Jason mask underneath a balaclava. And again, has a bit of a Dali feeling as you see the face melt away and even just the ace of spades here, the apple that's dripping. There's always a surrealist tinge and interesting kind of take. Often there's a floor with these squares, this checkerboard floor here. It's kind of vertical or facing us directly. And this beautiful sky and even this outline here. A lot of care and work put into this work. Nice piece. 15 edition of 15. 5 Tezos, 5 left, so they're selling well. Nuv 1914. So another edgy work, kind of half drawing, half gradient, and all surprise all around here as these flowers and these kind of teddy bear and bunny figures. Just interesting piece as usual. Very just cool. A 1 of 1, probably went for only 10 is what these often go for. To Nicholas Sassoon. Nice, for 10 Tezos. Nice purchase. Burka Byram has been putting out a lot of work with, I think, this Burk AI image generator, which makes me wonder. Cold Wallet. First of all, this is a really cool piece. What I wonder is, did Burka Byram train an AI with his work, and then say, make, you know, if someone wants to make an object, here you put Cold Wallet and make it in my style with all of these uploaded. And I wonder if that's what's coming out here. So Cold Wallet, because you see there's a ton that's being minted right now using the Burk AI or Burk AI image generator. So isn't that interesting? Because, of course, we're seeing with GPT, these kind of GPTs that you can make, you know, that's also another thing. I mean, that's how the work I minted a couple of days ago, the main ad, that's using my previous work. And then actually that's just mixing and matching. And then finally, okay, and then several edits later. But I wonder if there's another way you can do it. It's just put in 5 of your screen memory works, Pocobelli, put them in, and then can you start, you know, just making a little text prompt and get them out in that style? So again, just open territory here. Eurydice, or Akira Dice, tweeted this out. I thought it was cool. I hadn't seen this artist before. TX Corn, let's look. 21 possibilities. TRXK, only 2 cents. Edition of 210. So I thought a pretty interesting drawing here. So interesting artist. Another discovery here. Interesting just what's going on here with these colors, nicely drawn and everything. Kind of a whole bunch of mysterious things going on here. 21 possibilities. Just interesting. Very cheap. Shall we just look at the page very quickly here? Almost artist. Cool. Like, I mean, nice. Right? That's pretty cool. Right? Is it AI? No. So I don't think so. Nice piece. Right? Edition of 4. Let's just see what this sold for, just out of curiosity. And this is for very low prices. 1 Tezos, 64 Tezos cents. Interesting. Nice find. Akira Dice. Wasteman Goldminovich with a couple of... This is a 1 of 1 for only 10 Tezos here at auction right now. Goldminovich brooch in gift case. I thought this is pretty hilarious, as usual, from Wasteman Goldminovich. A cigarette on what looks like something for a diamond ring or something. Goldminovich. Hilarious. And here is another hilarious one, the 3 Temptations of Jesus. And it looks like 3 big hot dogs here. 3 Tezos, edition of 10. And keeping it interesting over here. And there's Jesus with edgy work with Jesus with a cigarette. So interesting piece here by Wasteman Goldminovich. Mumbleboy, back. Clairvoyance, a cool still digital collage here. Again, another edgy collage here. Nice stretching going on. Combination of digital techniques here, gradients, and collage. So just interesting work here. 1 of 1 for 12 Tezos, still available. Putting out a lot of work. Jean-Luc, Alchemical Arrangements. So let's see if we can figure out what is going on here. And we see different shapes moving through, almost like molecules of sorts here, different combinations here with this great kind of moving lines here of different colors in the frame. Interesting piece from Jean-Luc, edition of 7. And usually these sell for quite a bit, 150 Tezos. So 6 gone, probably keeping 1 for himself. So interesting piece there. Marginalia, who is also known as Sabato. Life in a Jar. And of course, this is a deluxe 4-paint work. Life in a Jar, simple composition. This is Marginalia 04, still available for $6.66, 6 Tezos, and edition of 33. And as he tweeted out, kind of a simpler pixel artwork, but quite delightful. This, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, this looks like some sort of, I don't know, not amoeba, but some sort of small, almost like sea monkeys that you saw at the back of comic books. It looks like some sort of sea monkeys, for instance. Are you sure all progress will be lost? Yes or no? Bit of a kind of video game prompt. And some interesting, nice just dithered gradient from a design perspective in the background here, as well as this interesting pixel pattern at the bottom here, and this interesting still life, you know, car keys, a few coins, you know, stuff that came out of your pocket, with this mysterious jar of what I'm calling sea monkeys here, and this nice little flash in the menu. Great work. Denairis, monarchies, and of course, probably referring to the monarchy. Is it the monarchy butterfly? And look, I thought just this kind of feedback, delayed feedback. I'm almost using like musical description here, digital music descriptions, like this, you know, feedback that is coming off of the butterfly. Pretty cool treatment of it, isn't it? You know, so an animation with a lot of processing and just kind of digital processing. Let's see what it says. Monarchies. Data moshing, glitching, strokes on GIF canvas. Edition of 10, 2 Tezos, Denairis. Interesting work. Haiti Rocket with a couple of kind of very fun, interesting, and almost surprising subject matter. Here we have a rainstorm. Maybe using that, again, that kind of algorithm, that motion algorithm that maybe Haiti Rocket was using. Kind of nice scene, and you gotta love how it's kind of collecting a little bit at the bottom of the image. And here you almost have horizontal pixels, interestingly, in the background here as well, in the sky, and this really cool kind of RGB ghetto, as it's called. And here is a dark one, late night edition. So again, playing, it's almost like this is a window where the water is collecting at the bottom. That little thing kind of creates that whole other feeling. It creates a whole other kind of perspective, you might say. So interesting. And all of a sudden you're looking through this window, perhaps. Very cool work from Haiti Rocket. Playing a lot with kind of different variations on copies. I mean, see the Warhols that we saw yesterday, for example. Cream Safa. Interesting minimal paper clips is what's over here. Not sure exactly, just looks like moving pixels, but it looks great. It looks great and fun. Figments, Trials and Simulation. So another work by Figments here, also known as Cap'n. Interesting piece playing with this kind of mystical consciousness figure, and interesting, almost looking like files moving across in these kind of metaphysical, poetic, almost mystical works here. And, you know, interesting contrast, finally, of the figure who is static, and then you have all this color and movement around it, and then just these static figures that don't move at all. Nice contrast, as well as a contrast in color as well. And here they're almost like cubes, right? So it's almost like kind of a networking kind of theme, which we've seen before in this series. Very cool. I'm not sure if I've seen this one by mech.txt. I feel like I might have, but I didn't remember here, which is either a fire or it's probably the reflection of the moon. But I love this reflection here. Just these pixels, because it almost borders on the line of abstraction here. So, and here you see the moon also, almost like the water reflecting off the moon a little bit, perhaps. Not exactly sure. But cool, and I also like this. Would you remember a, you know, nice text here, and then, you know, incoherent, and then like me. Just interesting. Nice work. And here's a great work by Mayu, part of the Retro Pixel collection, just minted, Pac-Man. And this is 0.05 ETH on Foundation. Really nice piece. Here by Mayu of a skeleton, the skeleton figure playing Pac-Man, and really nice kind of border here as well. Cool piece. Green Ginger. Let's see, I think there's some music here. See, just kind of fun. Verdancy Among Heights. Edition of 10, 8 left. Pretty fun. That goes on for two minutes. and 15 seconds. So go check it out. Green Ginger, I believe a duo, really cool team there making awesome pixel art. This is Brave. So many dots on this piece and still a work in progress. So kind of a clue into how much work a lot of these artists put into their pixel art. This isn't simply like export, with pattern, GIF, right? Like they are making a lot of this manually, as Brave seems to be saying here. So nice piece of a plane going over a city at maybe evening or in the morning. Continuing on, Walk, Augmented Reality 918. So I believe this is another September 11th work. Kind of looks like a fireman, perhaps taking a baby, maybe. Hard to say, kind of this modern impressionism, so to speak. This is at auction for only 2 Tezos. Let's see how much time is left. Very quickly. How are we doing here? 50 minutes? We may, if I speed through the rest, which I probably will, we may finish at an hour here, which would be awesome. 7 Tezos right now with an hour to go. So late comers are coming, late bidders are coming in for Walk. Feels, Plash. So this just came out, and these are pretty expensive too. Of course, we saw Feels the other day with I think it was a super rare piece. So here's on Tezos, and another just interesting animated abstract work from Feels called Plash. And let's see what's happening here. Already sold one at 123 Tezos and an additional of 11. So cool work from Feels. Coda Nakazono, another animated abstract. Interesting variation with these 3 kind of lit up rectangles. These almost mystical rectangles here playing off of this almost living shape here and this wild kind of hose here and blurry background. Really kind of, I don't want to say scary work, scary in a good way, kind of like freaky work in a good way, shall we say that. Continuum number 166, just minted, really interesting work as usual. Tug Can, Death Grips, this was interesting. This is an edition of 5, I think it's 25 Tezos there. Just interesting work over here with these figures, just kind of unusual and interesting. I brought up Tug Can's page, so all sorts of kind of almost like horror, but also experiments with video glitch and everything. I think I remember the Cyclops. That one is brilliant. Let's just, Cyclops, that is pretty edgy. Edition of 9, really nice work there too. Continuing on, Ex-Mortal Bad Sync. So this is just posted on X here. Really nice piece, great color, interesting kind of, I was going to say framing, but I don't know if that's really the right word. Some guy walking in a dark doorway, figure walking surrounded by abstraction. Really nice, colorful abstraction too. This, I think I saw in Unknown Collector, who puts out I think daily, feed of some of his favorite works of art that are coming out. So I think this is from that, if I remember correctly. I'd never seen this artist before. Perfect Loop, Data Broker. And I thought just a pretty cool animated abstract work here and kind of just cool, futuristic. Kind of looks like if you put on the VR goggles or the AR goggles, augmented reality goggles, that you could start to see stuff like this. So perhaps a window on the future. Great color too. This is Phosphor Operator, who of course was in Tezos' portraiture series. So this is 1:17. We can't show the whole thing, but I want to give a few tastes here. Someone in a bedroom. I'm gonna do this just a little bit, just to give you a taste. So, it's difficult to do that to the artwork, so apologies to the artist, but yeah, I have to, just for copyright and as well, just, go to the page, go to Phosphor Operator's page, get the full treatment here. Mortal Coil. The visuals created with various displacement techniques in Blender and After Effects, super interesting, using homebrewed analog video glitch sources. Music by Phosphor Operator as well. Edition of 30 for 10 Tezos, 17 left. And this you might recognize as Kiro. So this is Kiro in that world that Kiro had created. Another beautiful abstract here, one of these just video analog abstracts. It's a simple idea. They're beautifully done. There's something, it's another example of less is more sometimes. This is great. Kiro, and again, this is in the Holomod collection. So thank you for that correction earlier on. This is only 0.404 ETH from Kiro. And here is Kenexapta Electric Landscapes. I didn't see this. I went to the Zora collection. I didn't see this one, but this one's awesome. It kind of almost reminds me of Scomro with adding this kind of user interface stuff at the bottom. Really cool mountain with a wave and really nice color here. Just a great piece. The mountains changing colors from Kenexapta. Score and Sky Goodman with a 20-second long work here. Let's see if there's any volume. There is no volume. We'll see if it loads. Might be a big file. There we go. So interesting collaboration here from Score and Sky Goodman here. It was meant to happen. And well, let's check out the title here. It feels fairly abstract, maybe a bit of a landscape and almost stars in the background. Let's see what happened here. Speculative Landscape, number 4, Night from Two Perspectives on Muraria. Blend option, Midjourney using the blend option. I'm a huge fan of blend, which merges images together and endlessly remixes them. Psycho used Touch Designer to add movement, and Kira to the scape. That's sparkle. Cool work. Sky Goodman and Saiko. And here's another Sky Goodman, I believe. Good Night. I thought that was interesting. Use just the color shapes in the background here. Another interesting result here from Sky Goodman. Of course, this is Strange Thing with a figure, almost a Renaissance painting, but kind of has a British feel to it. Almost like more of a 18th century kind of British painting. This figure might go, hunting or something, the fox hunt or whatever they do. Telephone booth, again, looks kind of like late. When was the telephone invented? I mean, this looks like late 1800s, but I think it would probably be more like 1940s or something. Let's see if we have a clue. Jim, everyone, have a great week. So another nice painting from Strange Thing. And here's a couple more from Lily Illo. Interesting combining figures here. And this is GM and GM to Lily Illo. And here's another one of figures being combined here. I think this is using M-props. I'm not exactly sure it is. All these couples in love in a series of portraits launching as member token number 3 in support of M-props who are building a playground for creators. So maybe over Christmas, I'll get the chance to try that out. I'll add it to the to-do list. And this is Nagar Saper with a new work here. And I believe this is AI looking at Big Ben here in London, and 2 figures, 2 women in a city, and maybe some pink plants, perhaps. Just an interesting, let's see if we have more info. This is part of the Stars, part of NFT Factory Paris Indigo exhibition, so very cool. Also, Kika Nikolela, Ghosts of Things to Come. So I think is this M-props? I don't think so. I think this was before M-props, and this was just minted today. So maybe an FX hash. I'm not exactly sure. I believe using AI, as we see here. And so this is, minted on the 25th edition of 20. So maybe that's just new AI from Kiko Nikolela. This is using M-props from Kika Nikolela. Octopus Tango number 77. Hybrid bodies intertwined in fantastic dances. Here we go. Long-form AI via M-props Open Studio Beta. So this is October 15th. And here is another one, again, using octopi, or the plural of octopus. Morning Thoughts and Octopus Delirium. And this is from November 1st. So just a quick checkup on what Kika Nikolela is up to with AI and the octopus and these figures here and everything. Interesting kind of apples on the ground here and everything. Just interesting colors. A delirium. Morning Thoughts. It looks very surreal. It looks like a delirium, a vision in delirium here. And this is Emil at M-props, maybe one of the founders of M-props. Not sure. Emil M-props, but don't know. Launching November 27th, long-form AI. So this is a new term for me. M-props, I think Kika mentioned that as well. 0.02 ETH, 36 unique editions. Each one of these paintings was created outdoors in the elements in one sitting with the directness and immediacy that makes great plein air landscape painting so special. Interesting. Well, great looking texture here for an AI artwork, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe these were actually physical. Hard to say. Speaking of physical, this is an older work from Michael Pybus from 2018, I think, Rise 2018. Maybe it's not old. Maybe that's just the title, but probably the title's Rise, and it's from 2018. Anyway, here, I thought this was a brilliantly done, I wish I could, brilliantly done pixelation here. Here we go. Just with what looks like a marker and maybe a ruler, right? Really nicely done pixelation. Not as easy as it sounds to basically make look good when you're doing it manually, I'd argue. Interesting work there. This is Machine, another skateboarder with dolphins in the background here. We'll see. On my way. So there Machine goes to meet maybe friends. And great, again, this airbrush, I think airbrush and spray paint and interesting, you know, outlines here and this great sky and everything. Cool sea and skateboarding across the sea in inner space here. Catherine Bernhardt, you know, well-known artist here, who's famous. I think this is E.T. and McDonald's, and who also does Pink Panther works. So Chicken McNugget at Tripoli Gallery. Interesting, as you see, like very painterly here, a lot of water and probably loose medium. Interesting painter, like you see here in the ET as well. There's videos, I think, online you can see her painting. Interesting artist. M.R. McGrath. Let's see if we can make that slightly bigger. Interesting painting here as well. Uptunnel gods singing, grouches lurking, oil pastel, and acrylic on canvas. So a ton of interesting art coming out, as you can see here, just humbly in this corner of this living room. Nice piece. And that is your show, my friends. So hopefully I see you tomorrow at the Twitter space with the One of One crew. That should be awesome. And other than that, it will be sporadic for about a week and a half. The shows until, but I'll probably try and do one or two here and there. Until next time, take care.